The project we're working on today is a little journal that I thought we would make. I'm going to make 90 of them. I'll only make one on camera. But basically this is the format of what they're going to look like. They're basically just cardstock journals with 12 sheets of paper inside, a saying on the front, and a little bookmark. So I have a boutique that I sell all of my So Sweet of You products in, a lot of candy products, but a lot of paper products also. So what inspired this was I do actually, especially at Christmas time, I tend to sell a ton of little journals and notepads and things like that. So what inspired this was I went to Hobby Lobby and I was looking for inspirational saying, like ephemera, things like that, that I could use as my cover. And I went to look at the greeting cards and found some beautiful, beautiful designs. The problem was the box of cards maybe had 12 cards in it or even 20 cards, but they either had the same card, which I did not want, or they only had 4 designs and there were 3 cards each. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted a very large selection, and I really didn't need them to match at all. And so I stumbled upon their inspirational books, which Hobby Lobby has a beautiful selection of, and I found this book. It's called Sweet Tea for the Soul, and it was $8.95, which is yellow tag, so Hobby Lobby never puts it on sale. It is a nice book. It was a hard copy. But what I noticed when I opened it up was that inside every page had an inspirational saying. So it would have the saying on the right and then a little description to the left. And then the next page would have another saying and a description, and so on and so on. And they were very different. Some were inspirational, some were scripture, some were old-time sayings. They were very, very, very different. And so when I looked at sorry, I've already taken this book apart, but when I looked at the table of contents, I found that it was 188 pages of saying, but it started on page 9. So that meant there were about 90 sayings in here. And so I liked the color scheme. I liked the book. So I took it apart. It was glued together, so I just snapped the glue. Then I took my little scissors and snapped it was stitch bound. So I just snipped the stitches, and then I pulled out several sections at a time, 6 or 7 pages at a time, and then I would pull that out and then very carefully separate those with the glue. And so I've broken most of the book down. I intend to make all 90 of them today. I'm only going to do one on camera. And so when I looked at these, there were 90 sayings, so there were between 20 and 25 of each color, meaning that there were 4 different color schemes inside the book. There was a dark brown that was kind of on like what looked like wood paper, and then kind of a medium brown, a light ivory, and then a denim color. And they were between 20 and 25 of each of these colors. However, all 90 sayings were completely different. So all I was interested in at that point, once I liked the sayings, was the color scheme so that I could figure out what kind of paper I wanted to put it on. So when I went to go look at my stash, I realized I had this book of cardstock that I had gotten from Ollie's. It was Paper Studio, but it was in my Ollie's haul for $1.99, so I'm not quite sure why Ollie's had this, or maybe I bought it from Hobby Lobby. I don't remember, but I only paid $1.99 for it, but it did have an Ollie's sticker on it. But you'll notice that its color scheme, that's that color, that's this one, that's actually a different one, and then this is this one. So I decided I would use this for the entire book. I actually have 2 packs of these. And then for the corresponding matching designer paper, I had also gotten this book at Ollie's. It's Park Lane's Time Worn Textile Books. It's thinner paper, but very much in the color scheme of what I was looking for these books. It matched this pack of cardstock quite well. And so everything I'm using for all 90 of these will be using those 2 books. Every now and then I'll reach over and pick something else out. Like this one, I wanted to use craft paper, and I had also from Ollie's a pack of craft paper that I had gotten that I believe was $1.99 also. So when I decided to sign the book, basically I find that one of my best sellers over there are these little tiny journals. I can sell them at a very low price point. It gets people in my store. And they typically, if they get this, they also buy several other things. And so, you know, it's not a break even for me. I actually make money on them because my cost of my goods is so inexpensive. And I can make them very, very, very fast. However, one of the things I have noticed is when I make a journal, I tend to sell way better if the paper inside is white. I've tie-dyed paper, I've tea-dyed it, I've coffee-dyed it. I've used all sorts of different types of paper, but for some reason people really like the white. And I find that if I use unlined paper versus lined paper, if they have a choice, they always go for the unlined paper. So I don't know if they're using them to sketch in or just to journal in. I'm not quite sure. I do tend to sell, I also have a display of bookmarks that have scriptures on them, and I put all the ones that have scripture on them here, and those are by far my best sellers. So I think they might be using them as prayer journals, so I'm not sure. But basically the makeup of this is it's a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock folded in half. So the journal itself is 5.5 by 8.5. And then I'm using, basically this is copy paper. It's a good copy paper, but it's still copy paper. Folded in half, it's 6 sheets of copy paper. So when I folded it, it makes 12 sheets. So it's a 12-page journal. And then I find the saying, so I match the color to the designer paper to the saying. And then I decorate it and put it together. And then I made these little tag punch tags, and I don't know if you can see on there, they were too plain looking by themselves, and so I used my die cut machine and my embellishment, my embosser, and I embossed each of them. And then when I glued this down, I left the top open and then just put ribbons in it. And so this is one that has the cardstock. You'll notice on this one I used my scallop punch to punch it. This one I left it plain. This one has stars on it. This one probably won't make any more similar to this one because I used the designer paper as the cover in the back and I feel it's too thin. And then I used the cardstock for the pocket, and this is too thin and this is too thick, so it needs to be reversed. But this is actually my favorite tag that I did. It was that craft paper made a beautiful tag, and I love that embossing on that particular one. And then the blue, which I just adore the blue denim that they used. I have found that the blue and the white looks really nice with a white tag. And so I'm just used a plethora of different color ribbons. I have a whole stack of different embossing that I'm decorating the tags with. I am not putting stickers or stamps or anything on my tags because I want the whole book to be about the saying on the front. So those are some examples of the ones that I've done. The one thing I have not done yet to finish this is I need to bind it. And so I'll either stitch it, but honestly for these, I think I'll use my long arm stapler and put my staple in here and just put in 3 staples. Just remember when you're stapling a journal to make sure that the smooth side of the staple is on the outside of the book and the rough part is on the inside. And then I'll put them in plastic bags and they will be ready to go. So I should be able to make all 90 of these in a day. And so it's a very, very, very fast project. So this is the one we're going to make. So again, the supplies are just 1 piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 11, 1 piece of designer paper. It doesn't have to be 8.5 11. It can be a scrap, but you're going to need about half of it. Pick out one of your sayings. This one, God sends no one away empty except those who are full of themselves. That's funny. By Dwight L. Moody. And so this was out of the book. I did cut the page number off of the bottom of all of them, but we'll trim this together. Now you could, because I have my die cut machine, I could die cut this as an oval or a square and give it a little bit more design to it. But for today, I'm just going to cut it. And then I have a tag here, but we'll make a tag. I'll show you how to make it from scratch and how to emboss it. But this is sort of the ones that we're working on. So to start, oh, and you'll need 6 pieces of copy paper, which I'll grab in a second. So really, sorry, so that I can see this, you just match this up corner to corner. Fold it exactly in half. You can use your bone folder. I'm using my little Cricut scraper. Exactly in half. Then you take your designer paper and your saying. Now before I cut this, I need to decide how I want my saying cut down. And so you can cut them. You'll notice here, sometimes I cut it very close to the words. Sometimes I left a little bit more room. Sometimes I mounted this in the center. Sometimes I mounted it at the bottom so that you can see a little bit more of the tag. It's just completely your preference as to how you want to do it. So this one has a scroll at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to, let me scoot this up a little bit so you can see. I'm going to, let's pull this down. So I'm just eyeballing this. There aren't any measurements. Uh-oh. Oh, wrong one. There aren't any measurements, and so that looks a tad bit crooked. Let me make sure that's not crooked. No, it was. And then I'm going to cut it just a little bit more so that I can see the sayings. And then I look at it, and so like here, see, I have more room over here than that one. So I'm just going to trim it down a little bit. So literally, I just eyeball this. Okay. So I know that I'm working with 5.5 by 8.5. And so you could cut this if you wanted to. If you wanted a 1/4 of an inch, then you would know. If you wanted a 1/4 inch, you would cut this 5 by 8. And that would frame the whole thing, and then you could put this in the center. So let's try that, and I'll show you. If you cut this just 5 by 8, oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. I have both of my blades in here, and it's tripping me up. So you could do 5 by 8 and then mount this in the center, and then you would have more designer paper, you know, and less words, versus on these, I made the designer paper smaller. So it's just completely your choice. I think I'll try this one. Now, another thing that you can do is when you go to put it in here, you have to decide what you like. I have not been corner punching this, because if I corner punched the edge of the journal, I have to corner punch all my pages, which you can do. It's just an awful lot of work. And so I just sort of look at the design and decide if I want it to be punched or not. You can punch, I typically punch both of them, and sometimes I, like in this one, I punch them to match. Sometimes I punch them, like this one I punched in, this one I punched out. Sometimes I don't punch it at all. Like these two I did not punch at all. It just depends on what you like. So I'm going to punch it just to show you what it looks like. Now this is a punch, I believe I got it from Amazon. It's a 3-way punch. And so I typically use these two. This one is by far my favorite. I don't know what it's called. I just call it the little hill punch. But it gives me just kind of a nice little rounded, just a little scallop edge. And see, it just makes it just look a little tiny bit more finished. Now I can punch this one the same, or I can punch it with like a little point to it. So I'll do the point just so you can see the difference between the two. But depending on, highly recommend if you're going to do a lot of these is to get several of these little corner punches, because I use them all the time. And so that's how that will look. And so once we glue it in, then we're going to make our tag in just a second. You can put the tag this way so that it would come out to the side. I've been sort of putting them all at the top, so you can put the saying on the bottom so that you can see a lot more of the tag. On this one, I think I'll center it. So the first thing I do is I glue this. Now, interesting enough, on my glue, I'm out of my art glitter glue and my Bearly art glue, so I try to use my my Tombow glue, but this paper that came out of this thing is so thin that Tombow glue buckled it. So oops, and you know what I just did wrong? I just put glue across the top, yeah, I need to undo that. Whoops. So the reason I don't want glue across the top, let me wipe that back off, is because I want to put my tag in there. So I'm going to measure this. It is 5 inches. So I need, what about, let's see, this is 5.5. So I'm going to need 1.25 inches at the top and 1.25 inches at the bottom. So about right there. Usually I can just eyeball it. Ooh, got glue everywhere. And so do not want that glued right there. Just leave that there so the glue won't stick. And then we're going to glue this to here. Now on these, I actually didn't glue this part. On this one, the reason I messed up is because I typically put it in here instead of in here. So I wasn't thinking. So this one, because it is so big, I'm going to glue the whole thing down. So just make sure you get your edges. And then I'm just eyeballing it. And that's what it looks like. And then I'm just working this because I accidentally glued it. So I'm trying to make sure it doesn't stick. Glue is so much more forgiving than double-sided tape. If I had double-sided taped it, I'd be in trouble right now. I pulled that so much, I pulled the edge up. Okay, now I'm just using this as a placeholder, but let me show you how to make the tag. So the tag, you can make any color you want. These tags I'm making white. Because I like the contrast. So I do make a lot of tags, and so I happen to know that if I cut it 2.5 this way, that my 8.5 going this way, I'll be able to get 2 tags out of that, meaning that because I cut it like this, I'll be able to get 4 tags out of here. And so that's why I cut it the way that I did. And then this tag punch, I actually got this also from Hobby Lobby. It is a 3-hole bunch. It was only like $12, I think. It was very inexpensive. Maybe I got it on sale, I'm not sure. But it's a pretty heavy-duty punch. And it does 1.5, 2, and 2.5. And so I could make my tags a little bit smaller. I have quite a few tags made, but this is the little 1.5 inch. That is tiny. So I like the 2.5 inch tag. I actually like the bigger tags. So I punch my tag first. And then you can, if you want, which I'll do it just to show, you can also scallop the edge of the tags if you want the tag to look kind of cool. And so I used to hand cut my tags. I've done a lot, but I like this by far the best, my little tag punch. And so now I just need to emboss it. And so I have my die cut machine, which this is a, how do you say it? Vevor, V-E-V-O-R. I believe I just got it off Amazon. And don't make fun of my die cut plates. I use this a lot. And so I really like this design for this particular saying. It's just got leaves and flowers on it. So this is the embossing folder that I'm using. I die cut a lot of stuff, and my embossing is probably my favorite thing. So you just put this in here however you want it. And then I have 2 different types of embossing folders. Some I bought on Amazon and some I bought, yep, so this is the wrong one. So some of them I bought on Amazon, some of them I bought from a different vendor. And some of these are thicker than others. And so if they're thick, I have to use my 2 smaller plates. And then if they're very thick, I can't use my 2 small plates. I have to actually use my 1 big plate. I lay this down and put my big plate over the top of it, because my embossing, all it needs is a little bit of pressure for it to work. And see, it is now got that design on it, and it feels beautiful. I love my embossing machine. I use this a lot. And see, these are identical, except I cut the bottom of that one, if you can see. So that's the only difference between the 2. And so now this will go in here. And then you just pick whatever kind of ribbon that you like. For this one, I think I'll use white. And I am basically just, I buy ribbon everywhere I go. This is 1/4 inch ribbon. And you just, however long you want it. You can do, this one, I use just 1 ribbon. But see, these were very thin ribbons, and so I used 2. So this one I'll just, and I just eyeballed that, but that is about 7 inches. And then you fold it in half. And I don't mass cut my ribbon and stuff, because I really need each of these journals to look a little different. I don't want 20 of the same exact thing. I want each one of them. And so I have a lot of people who buy these for like their church group or for office gifts or, for group gifts. And they really like them all to look completely different. And so all you do is fold the ribbon in half, stick it through there, and I push it through and then loop it up and then pull it back so that I get the seam across the top. And that's it. And I don't do any other decorations to it. I just put that in here. Okay. And then what you do is you get your paper, whatever paper you want on the inside of your journal. I'm just using copy paper, but again, you can use any kind of paper you want. The one thing I would say is only fold a couple of sheets at a time. If you try to fold too many sheets, you will not get them straight unless you're better at it than me. So I do 2 sheets at a time. A lot of times I can do 3, and then I just embed them into each other. So you just literally take 8.5 by 11 copy paper, fold it in half, make sure you get the edges exactly right. And then put them inside each other, get them straight. So because that's 6 sheets of paper, that gives you 12 pages. And then this will go inside. And then I have to go up, my stapler was upstairs, I have to go up and get it. I jammed it and have to take it up to fix it. So I have to use a long arm staple. You cannot use a regular stapler. If you try to use a regular stapler, see, it will not fit. So if you try this, it will not fit. I need to go all the way to here. And I know a lot of people open it up and, you know, just do it with the head, but I find that it doesn't staple very good. One comment is make sure, I think I may have already said this, make sure you staple from, put the clean edge of the staple on this side so that the prongs are on this side. And then once you staple it, this will be done. And so that's what it looks like. And so you can just see all the different choices and how different they look based upon the paper that you choose, the cardstock that you choose, the tag that you choose, the ribbon that you choose. I can make what is really very, very similar looking items look completely different. Very, very, very good sayings. A lot of these books are either just, you know, very thematic one way or the other one. This one had a very, as I was tearing the pages, I was reading them last night and chuckling to myself. They're very cute. And so I actually have 6 by 9 bags, cellophane bags that these will go in, and then I fold them over, and then I just put the price sticker on the back. I do not put the price stickers actually on the book. To me, it would ruin the thing, so I actually put my price stickers on them. So my cost for these, because I got everything from Ollie's, I think I figured it out. I literally think I have like 30 cents in this whole thing. The most expensive thing was the saying, and I paid $9 for the book, and there were 90 sayings in there, so that's 10 cents. And then I paid just a couple of cents because I got the paper and the cardstock on such a great sale. And because I used such a small amount of ribbon, really it was just my labor. And so I typically find that I can sell something like this pretty much all day long for a couple of dollars. So these will probably get marked $2.99. And so when somebody is looking for 30 group gifts, they'll easily spend $3 and pretty much not even think about it. And so I find that if I keep everything under $5, for this particular gift, so that's why I'm making so many of them, is literally, especially for my group gifts, I will sell hundreds. I do not bundle package these, meaning I don't put like 5 of them in a bundle and sell them for, you know, $3 a piece or 5 for 12. I actually don't do that because I find that when people go in to look at these, they're very particular. Like they go through and they do the same thing with my bookmarks. They go through and they read the sayings, and you can see them laughing and kind of saying, "Oh, this is for Bob," and "Oh, this is for Mary," and "Oh, boy, ain't that Jane?" So, so I do sell them individually. So just food for thought. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this is a project pretty much anyone can do it. You know, with the exception of the tag punch in the embosser, in the corner punch, you really don't need this. If you don't have a corner punch, literally you could make this with nothing but cardstock designer paper of the book and glue. You don't need anything else. And so, and you could make tags, you could make anything. You could put just a journal card in here. You could put anything you wanted. You can even make bookmarks by just cutting at an angle and then 3-hole punching it. And so you don't need all the punches and everything. It just makes my life a lot easier because I'm making so many. Well, I hope you enjoyed this craft. I enjoyed making it. Happy crafting.